Well, I was at the mall yesterday getting some bird seed, and I come out, and what do you know? There's a little parking lot ding in my car. So I bring it into the friendly local body shop there, and guy takes one look at it, tells me I need a whole new door just for this one little spot right here, and this spot right here, and this spot right here. Says I need a whole new door, and I says, no sirree, I don't believe that I do. I believe this door can be repaired. I've never done body work before, but we're going to give it the old college try and see what we end up with. I'll just give you a little better tour of the damage here. Looks like this was the point of impact, and it's actually taken this whole door and shoved it in. See there's a big ridge all through here. You can see that in the light there. Yeah, looks like it. And you can see it's actually twisted the door frame out of place and all creased in here. We put the straight edge across it here. I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's a bit of a shame valley going on all through here. Now, because it all is low here, I thought maybe I could just fill it in with some plaster of Paris, but I checked and I'm almost out of plaster of Paris. So I think what we're gonna have to try to do is hammer some of this out a little bit. Well, we got out all the professional bodywork tools of the trade here. Got a claw hammer, cheese grater, and half a bag of plaster of Paris. So we're all set. Let's dive in and start fixing this door. Step one is going to be to remove all of this awesomeness. This is probably going to take longer than it will to actually fix the thing. It is quite interesting how all this was constructed. It's almost like a carriage and a car combined. You can see there's just like nails everywhere, and then there's like screws. Everything's countersunk into the wood. And yeah, it's just kind of a nightmare if you want to fix one of these. It's easy to see why the Fords are much more popular. Yeah, just all this nonsense again, like nails and then screws and just, you know, it's like whatever they had. It's kind of this is the second last year that General Motors built cars like this, and then in 37 they went to all steel construction finally. Alright, well, we got all the offending material out of the way, and now we have a better look at what's going on here. We got some pretty harsh stuff there. And again, you can see how the whole door is kind of kicked in here. So we'll just start roughing it out and see what we can make of it. Well, the old Tallahassee toe tapper technique didn't work too bad there. But now the real work has to begin, so we're going to have to start working all this out. Plus, we still got a ridge here, which is causing a low here. And then it's also ridged up here, so we've got to tickle that around. And then this is probably going to need some shrinking. This is pretty harsh right here. And then the rest of this should all kind of hammer out. Unfortunately, the bottom of the door is rusted out on us, so we're gonna have to work around that, but we'll do the best we can with the tools and skills that are available to us, and the cares, which are pretty minimal at this point. time for some useless information. You probably noticed when I was dismantling that door that there was an awful lot of wood inside that door, and that's because there was, and that's because there is an awful lot of wood inside these cars that is being used as the actual structure of the body. And in one of the last episodes, there were a few people asking if there was any cheap or easy or economical way to just kind of patch up the wood in this, and the answer is no, not really. So here's a picture of a two-door sedan without the outer skin or sheet metal on it, and you can see all of this under the floor here. This is all wood. These pillars are wood. There's wood running all the way back through here. There's wood coming up through here. And these actually have a lot less wood in them than the earlier Chevys or the 1935 Standard, but you can see there's still a lot of structure here. And the way these cars are constructed is the wood framework is actually built and assembled first, and then all the sheet metal panels are put over top of that wood. And so there's not really even any way to get the wood out of the car if it's still in good shape, because there's going to be bolts literally running through where the sheet metal covers over that after. So it is very difficult to put one of these cars back together. It's not even like it's just a bunch of flat boards kind of nailed in there. Like every single piece is curved and jointed, and like multiple pieces fit together and nailed and screwed and whatever. Like it's not exactly like you'd have to be a pretty accomplished woodworker to get all this put together and then actually have things fit and open and close and function the way you want them. What a lot of folks will do is they will just replace all the wood structure with steel using either plate or square tubing or rectangular tubing. But again, that's a massive fabrication job because there's not a single straight piece on this, and it all has to fit together, and the doors still have to open and close and function properly. So it's certainly not a job for a coward. That's what I did on my 36 Chevy, is I replaced the wood in the pillars and the dash rail with steel. And it seems like it would be an easy job. It seems like it's just straight and with one little bend, but I can tell you it is not that easy. It started out as 2x2 tubing, and then by the time I got done cutting and welding and piecing it all together, it would have been faster just to build it out of flat plate and weld the sides together, or find a 37 or 38 cab and just cut the entire dash rail and posts out, because those are steel, and then weld them in. But it's done now, and the doors all function the way they should. But again, that was not an easy task. And these don't even have as much wood in them as the earlier cabs do. I don't even understand how they were able to sell these cars for so cheap with all that intricate woodwork. You would think it would have been cheaper to do like Dodge or Ford did and just stamp all the inner structure out of one piece and then weld it together, rather than piece a whole bunch of little bits of wood together and shape all that wood and everything. But somehow they were able to do it up until 1936, before then 37 they went to all steel construction, as I already said. What I'm trying to say here is, do not buy a 1936 and older Chevy. There's a reason they're cheaper and less popular than Fords are. Okay, well, with minimal effort here, we've managed to actually get this thing back fairly close to where it needs to be. See, with the straight edge there, it's definitely not great, but I mean, for the most part, like, we're all kind of within spec here. We're just goofing off anyways, but the problem we have is we do have a big high spot right here where this large impact was, as we predicted, and we actually have an oil can there as well. So that needs to be addressed because there's no amount of hammer and dollying that is going to get rid of that stretch. You will notice though that I got the rest of this door as close as I possibly could before I started shrinking. And the reason for that is a lot of times if you don't get all the damage out of a flat panel like this, it will still have an oil can in it, and you'll get what is called a false stretch, where it seems like it's stretched, but it's actually just oil canning because the metal hasn't all been returned to where it's supposed to be. In this case, it was fairly obvious that this is going to be stretched, but we still roughed out the rest of the damage because we could still run the risk of over shrinking it if we started out by shrinking this, and then that would again create more problems, and then you're chasing oil cans and highs and low spots across the panel. Whereas this way, we have the panel dimensions kind of back where they need to be, and now this is kind of the only thing holding us up. So we know for a fact that this area is going to be our problem, and we know that we have to shrink here in order to get the rest of this panel back where it needs to be. So for these really small areas that need to be shrunk, I actually find that the shrinking tip on my Unispotter actually does a pretty convincing job. And the trick to this is, I used to think with these you're supposed to just like hold it there for like quite a while and just let it burn in, but that just makes a mess. But if you just lightly tap the trigger just a little bit, and just these small little spots here are enough to actually tighten this and shrink it back where it needs to be. So for just little areas, this actually works surprisingly well. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but it does work. And with modern collision, they actually have like a wand now that basically performs the same thing as this, and it just kind of goes along and just arcs out, because the modern steel is so thin and it's all different, made all different kinds of nutrients, that you can't just take a torch to it like you used to be able to. So the same principle, but it actually works on this older stuff too, really surprisingly well for a hack, I guess. So we can see now with just that little bit of shrinking, the oil can is completely gone. This is all tightened back up now. The high spot is down. It's still rough, but you know, it's not a disaster anymore. We just take the straight edge here, and if we run across here now, we're pretty well within range all the way through here. Everything's kind of within well, I'd say at least a 1/16 of an inch, which is probably good enough for what we're trying to achieve. If I was going to get serious with repairing this, I would have to strip this down to bare metal, and the next step after that is I would do a little more hammer and dolly work, and then I would take my shrinking disc and I would do a wash over the whole panel to help level it all out. Because right now the problem is we've got multiple layers of old brushed on paint, and the problem is that's giving us an inconsistent surface to hammer on. So whatever we kind of hammer on, we're also fighting that paint thickness. And so the only way to go any further is to strip the whole paint off of it and actually start getting serious about it. But I'm not too sure what I'm doing with this door yet. So I just wanted to get it kind of rough back in so it actually looks like a door again. Well, if you weren't looking too close, you'd almost think this door here wasn't completely ruined. And don't get me wrong, it is completely ruined, but it does actually look a lot better than it did. You know, this was pretty caved in, but it looks okay now. And this would need a ton of work if we were actually, you know, getting serious about it. But I'd say though, for like the hour or so that we spent messing around with this, can't really complain about that. That went from completely ruined to, you know, still ruined, but looking better. So that's good enough for this car anyways. Just wanted to give a shout out to one of our viewers, Tony from Illinois. He sent us this beautiful Cadillac emblem. Looks like it's in excellent condition, and it's even got like the mounting ears on it still, or the little stumps or whatever you want to call them. And I'm not even sure what year this is from, but if anybody knows, let me know in the comments. But this is a pretty nice gift, so thank you, Tony. And he also sent this multi-purpose pocket survival tool. It's got all kinds of different things. It's got a wrench, a screwdriver, a knife, saw blade. So we'll be carrying this with us in whatever vehicle we drive, because this would definitely come in handy for some roadside repairs, or maybe we get attacked by wildebeests and we have to fend them off. by the way. That's pretty sweet. I've never even seen one of these before, so thank you, Tony. Also, just wanted to give a big thank you to our French correspondent, Brick Tavern. He seems to have taken a liking to the 1950 Chevy 1-ton that we cobbled together earlier in the year, and he has sent us yet another amazing donation to go towards parts for it. And he suggested that I get a new 6-volt battery, new battery cables, new hoses, and new belts. But I'd already purchased new cables, or I already have new cables in stock, as well as hoses and belts, but I did need a battery, so we got ourselves a new 6-volt battery for that truck. So with the remainder of the donation, I decided to waste it on new wheel cylinders. So we have new wheel cylinders for all 4 wheels. So we're one step closer to actually having brakes on that truck now. So huge thank you to Brick Tavern for once again saving the day and single-handedly sponsoring that truck build, I guess. Well, I just wanted to apologize for another horrifically boring episode. There's like 3 or 4 sick, twisted individuals out there that want to watch me fix dents in real time, so we had to keep them happy. They were threatening to take hostages, so there you go. Dent repair in real time. How exciting. Not really. We got one more episode planned for this old 35 before winter, so that'll be coming up, and then we'll be back hard on the old chicken truck all winter, doing custom work and fabrication again. We do have a lot more planned for this old 35, but there's just not enough time in the next month or so before it snows to get everything done that needs to happen. I think some of you will enjoy what we got planned for this, but for the time being, again, there's just not enough time. Unfortunately, the year has passed us by once again. So thank you everyone for watching, and big thank you as always to all the patrons of the show, all the people sending in donations via PayPal or Super Thanks, as well as the channel members. And also, big thank you to everyone who has bought my crappy merchandise from our store, www.carterautorestyling.com. You can buy yourself a shirt or a sticker, and it helps to fund this insanity. I don't understand it, but thank you to those people, and thank you again to everyone for watching. We'll see you next week.
Mm-hmm.